What's up, everyone? Jake Berlin here with Apocalypse Movies, and I am joined by Brian Avolicino, and we are here to review the brand new, just released film from Christopher Nolan, Dunkirk. We just got out of it about 15, 20 minutes ago. The film officially opens tomorrow. We went to Thursday night showing. We wanted to get our review up as soon as possible. If you don't know what Dunkirk is, first of all, you're absolutely nuts. The fact that you don't know what that movie is. Second of all, the film focuses on the evacuation of the city Dunkirk, France, and Allied forces are pretty much just trapped on the beaches, on the boats, the docks, etc., surrounded by German forces and just being absolutely slaughtered, hour by hour, basically, from planes, torpedoes, bombs, etc.
Everything.
Yeah, so it's a pretty intense film to begin with, but so it's from Christopher Nolan. Written, directed by Christopher Nolan, the acclaimed director. If you don't know his name, again, you're nuts. It stars Tom Hardy, Kenneth Branagh, and a bunch of other unknown names. Fionn Whitehead, I think, is the main kid. And then a little bit of Harry Styles from One Direction's in there.
He's doing a good chunk.
Yeah, he did. He actually did a pretty good job. We'll get into that. Yeah. So, let's just get into our quick thoughts before we get into some positives and negatives and whatnot. Brian, we went into this film obviously with a little bit of high expectations, being a Nolan film, being a war film, kind of a first time for him on this genre type of film. What did you think of it? First thoughts, maybe what you thought of it first half, second half?
I thought it started out okay. I thought it kind of just maybe was a little bit all over the place, which kind of felt like that throughout the whole movie. But the beginning, I just kind of was like, what is going on?
Kind of lost?
Yeah, just a little bit. But it definitely grabbed you, immediately, and kind of held you the whole time. I know I jumped from multiple times, just loud bangs throughout the whole entire movie. But it definitely grabs you and kind of kept you in it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. The intensity is obviously the biggest factor of this film, and being a war movie, that's kind of what you want. You want to be on your toes. You want to be able to be jumped out of your seat. It's definitely I would say and I haven't seen all war films, but for me, it's the first time for this type of war film.
Yeah.
And, we have the Saving Private Ryans or the Hacksaw Ridges or the Platoons or whatever we have, but this is a very different type of war film. This isn't action-oriented. It's not blood, guts, showing the terrifying aspect of war, but it's rather it's like a drama just with a war umbrella over the top of it.
They kind of just I felt like they kind of just tried to throw you into the middle of a war.
Yeah.
Without giving you any information other than these soldiers are trapped in Dunkirk and here you go.
Well, and Nolan does a great job with as far as camera angles and the length of certain scenes and shots, really just kind of engaging and bringing you inside the film. You do really feel like you're there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with this type of film with some specific scenes, you just feel like you're being involved with these soldiers, and it's not always a good thing, obviously.
Yeah.
But let's get into some specific positives. I think one of the biggest positives for me was I love the aspect of not focusing on one specific character.
I like that, yeah.
And it's multiple arcs and stories within one story. And this specific story, first of all, I didn't say this in the beginning, but this is a spoilers review. We can't talk about this movie without going into kind of spoilers, but it ends up blending together at some point with the time gap that happens.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that at some point, but I think the usage of different characters and multiple characters really played to its advantage, because it didn't focus on Fionn Whitehead's character, and he didn't say a whole lot in the movie, which there wasn't really a whole lot of dialogue in the film, period. Tom Hardy was the main character. You had Mark Rylance was a main character in his story. A little bit of Cillian Murphy in there. Kenneth Branagh on the dock with James Darcy.
They kind of had a good portion of just a bunch of them were just the main characters.
Yeah,
they gave them their own
they just went. They went back and forth, and it was from the entire film. It wasn't big chunk here, big chunk here. It was literally just minutes back and forth the entire film.
Even sometimes going back.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. Maybe I didn't enjoy the connection between the time as much, but I think the usage of characters was really, really strong.
Yeah. For me, Tom Hardy, every single time we were up in that plane, I was like, yes.
That was probably the best aspect of the film.
Oh, yeah.
Was the plane fighting.
Oh, absolutely.
The dogfights were great.
That was my favorite part, easily. I mean, just seeing him kind of like coasting, and then you're like, is he gonna hit him? And then sometimes someone will just come flying in, and you're like, oh crap.
And it's pretty intense up there. It's like realizing that, you know, one shot you kill someone, one shot you're dead. Someone can be behind you, you don't know it. Someone's in front of you, you're helping out your allies, and it is crazy up in a plane, but it's also crazy down below. And we got a good chunk of that from these characters, of the drowning that happens, the torpedo stuff.
No one's safe.
No, literally, no one is safe. And I don't think that there was one performance in particular that really kind of like drowned it all. I think everyone was pretty strong for the most part.
Yeah, you can't really I mean, as good as Tom Hardy was, how many times did he speak?
Just in the mic, and it was kind of
times.
Mumbling in a way.
Almost the whole entire thing was kind of like silent performances that were really strong, that like spoke through it that way.
Yeah, and I think and we talked about this last time we did a review, but the score of the film, it was playing throughout the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
That one specific beat, it was just continuing. It was like a heartbeat just continuing the entire time. So that really helped the intensity and the scare factor of the movie, and just being really horrified of what's going on.
Yeah.
So any other positives that kind of stick out to you that deserve to be talked about, that you want to talk about? Maybe, I mean, there doesn't have to necessarily be one.
I personally thought Christopher Nolan's use of his scenery was easily one of the best parts, because like, even if you weren't really like captivated in the story or something, you were captivated with the surroundings of everything. And
that a lot of time can be lost, because a lot of time directors focus on the landscape rather than what's going on in the forefront. And for me, the most recent film is The Revenant, where it focused too much on what's surrounding him and the usage of natural light and all that stuff. Christopher Nolan did a great job of containing the scene, but letting all the background do the talking.
Oh yeah,
it's very, very strong.
Especially when, for me again, Tom Hardy's in his plane.
Yeah.
You just constantly see that if he gets hit, there's just nothing around, and this guy is just
ocean,
screwed.
it's clouds, and then obviously the wide shots of the beach where all the soldiers are sitting there, and you see the city basically on fire behind them.
Even when they went in the town, just for a little bit, you kind of
the very beginning of the movie.
Very beginning. That's one thing I would have liked to see, just maybe a little bit more. Is kind of them going through the town, trying to get to the beach, but like even just that beginning part, just knowing like where they are. I liked how he used his surroundings.
And that goes back to what we talked about as far as it being a different war film. It's not gunfighting and you know, grenades and stuff. It's literally a film about survival. You have to survive. They're finding ways to survive, and through this story, you find these characters. Specifically, the main one played by Fionn Whitehead. He becomes a medic and tries to get on a boat. Ends up getting off that boat, and then he finds his way onto another ship, and it just kind of goes back and forth. That ship ends up sinking. He finds his way back on the beach. Another ship.
Everyone tried to get on a boat.
It's literally just one thing after another, trying to find a way off or away from Dunkirk back home, and it's literally just a movie about survival, and that's what makes it so different and interesting. But there definitely are some negatives for me in this movie. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
A lot of people are absolutely raving about this film, and I can see why. But for me, the biggest thing was the time situation.
Yeah.
And it kind of took away from the feel, because you don't really know what's going on until about halfway through the movie, when it basically just shifts from day to dark within seconds.
Yeah.
And it's not that it didn't work for me. I don't know if I liked it as much as I would have liked a continuously time story, because it made sense. Everything kind of blended at the end, but it was very hard to keep track of everything that was going on.
Yeah, for me, going off what you said, a couple times I would be like, wait, didn't we kind of like just see this? Oh wait, they went back in time again, or a couple minutes before this happened.
Yeah.
There's no like real like way to figure that out until like a couple minutes after, and you're just like, oh, okay, now we're back.
Yeah, and in the beginning of the movie, when we first see the scene of the dock and the scene of the air and the scene of the sea, they give us these timestamps. and we have no idea what those mean until later in the movie. But that problem is with being later in the movie, we don't remember those times.
I forgot about
I think I remember a week and a day, but that's about it. I think there were 4 total.
A week, a day, an hour. It was depending on what vehicle or transportation they were trying
I'm pretty
to
sure
use.
that what they call it, the mole, the docks, the mole. I think that was a week.
I think that was the week, and then the boats were...
I think Mark Rylance's boat was a day.
Yeah.
They were the closest.
The plane was, I think,
Probably
the
few days. No, hours, 2 hours or something like that.
And then there was something else.
So that definitely, it's not that it was a huge negative or like flaw that we just like super bummed about. It just kind of confused us.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if they would have thrown it in like one more time, just kind of like to give us that reminder, that I feel like would have helped.
Definitely.
But like, it kind of just like, you don't really know where you are until kind of progresses a little bit.
Definitely. Well, towards the end, really. And then it starts to really blend together, and scenes kind of, like you had said, you know, we see scenes over again. And other than that, I mean, I guess I could say a little bit of pacing here and there.
Yeah.
Because even though the film was intense and it was straightforward, you were involved, that necessarily doesn't mean pacing is always good. I don't say that pacing or intensity and whether it's fast or slow is the same thing. The film was still kind of slow for me, and that's not what I was expecting. Like, yes, there were things going on, and people were dying, and they were fighting for survival, but it was still kind of a slower film than what I was expecting.
Yeah, that I completely agree with you. I expected just constant, just everything, and it just kind of like took its time, and it kind of got to the point where it started to almost like repeat itself a little bit. Like you said, the constant trying to get off boats.
Yeah.
I mean, that, which
boat
completely
after boat, and
understandable.
it makes sense in the situation.
But like, how many times that happened? 3 times, maybe 4 times.
Well, and it's not that it happened so many times, but it kind of ended up being the same thing every time. You got on a boat and it sank.
Yeah.
You got off. You got on a boat.
It became
sank.
expected almost.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
okay, here we go again.
Cry wolf or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that was definitely kind of one.
I think those are kind of the only 2 negatives that we can really talk about. I mean, this film is great. It is a great film. It's a different film. Nolan films are always an event, something that you must see. It's like a Spielberg or Scorsese or something like that. It's just a film you have to see.
Yeah.
He tries to take risks, and he definitely did that. Some paid off, some didn't. You know, we're not ones that are going to absolutely love it like others.
Yeah.
But there are aspects we really, really enjoyed about it. And the thing about Christopher Nolan films, for me anyway, is that each time you watch it, you either start to dislike it more or you start to like it more. I remember going to Interstellar and watching it in theaters, and I very much pondered it after watching it. I was like, okay, that's interesting. What are they trying to do here? But as I watched it, I started to appreciate it more. Same thing with Inception. I don't really remember liking it as much as I do now when I first watch it, but now it's like almost one of the greatest films of all time for me.
Yeah.
So this may be a movie that, you know, we may go watch in a theater a second time, get it on Blu-ray, and over time we may like it. At that point, we may just come back and review it again because we might want to talk about it more.
Yeah.
But it definitely is an event film. It's something that you have to go see. I would think, you know, I think both of us would recommend this movie.
Yeah, I feel like
easily.
it's one of those ones you kind of would get a better experience in the theater for your first time.
And it's not one of those normal war movies where it's only for certain ages. I think anybody can see this movie.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't like heads blowing off, people getting shot, and it was
really just a movie about survival.
pretty much. I mean, to the point. The only negative, other than what we said so far for you, is I would have liked just a little bit more character development as far as knowing who they were a little bit.
Actually, you know what? Now that you say that, that kind of does make sense.
Like,
it does make sense. They just kind of threw those guys in there.
Yeah, like you got familiar with who the character was, but you didn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Not even their names. The only name that I came out with was George.
And then they said a couple names for the pilots, but it was so mumbling in the mask.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure.
I had a hard time understanding them a couple times throughout the movie. Where
there was not only with the plane, but there was some mumbling going on. Period.
Yeah, like a couple times, like even with nothing going around, like planes or something, I was like, "What did he say?"
Well, and that might have been a fact of us just not being used to the British accent as much.
True.
And this movie may crush over in England and be like, and they may understand it a hell of a lot more than we do. And now we know what they feel like when they hear our movies. You know, it's just totally mumbles and whatnot. So, but I think for us, You know, we had a good time watching it. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's not something I hate. It's not, for me, it's not something that I absolutely love. I would probably put it in between like a good and a great.
Yeah.
I'm just like an in-between. But again, I may watch this again and come out absolutely loving and appreciating it more than I did before. So for me, for a score out of 10, I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. And this may look low to a lot of people, and I'm probably going to get bashed for hating a Nolan film. But there are just some things that I was kind of hoping for this movie. And it's not that I didn't get them, I just was expecting something different, I guess you can say. So 7.5 is still a really good score, but maybe for a Nolan movie, it's not as great as it probably could have been.
Yeah.
You got anything higher and lower?
Well, if you're getting bashed for 7.5,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting bashed because for me it was a 7, just flat 7. I felt that way the whole entire time. Like throughout the movie, I'm like, okay, it's getting better. This would be higher, lower. I just kind of felt like I just kept that same.
So level playing field the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think if you rewatch it, maybe kind of like one of those ones, it would get better.
Yeah.
But as of right now, just right after it, like I just was kind of like, all right, I'm content with it.
Yeah.
It was good. I just kind of left feeling a little bit, wanting a little bit more to it.
Well, and I guess that can also play in the fact that we almost felt like we knew what was coming.
Yeah.
Like we ended up, not that we knew it, but it felt like we were just
Predictable.
we knew where the story was headed.
Yeah.
Like there's no way that all those citizens on the boats are gonna go help Dunkirk and then they all die. Like
Yeah.
it felt like they just had to help them and rescue them.
Yeah.
So that may have taken away from the experience a little bit. I don't know how you felt about that.
No, I agree with you. I went in kind of like still a little confused. Like obviously knew the premise of it from the commercials and the trailers, but like I still kind of felt like I didn't walk out of there with like a full like, oh okay, now I understand everything.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, okay, well I'm still kind of wondering like what happened a little bit more, but no, I completely agree with what you.
And that may call for a second viewing.
Yeah.
Never know.
Never know.
All right, so I got a 7.5 out of 10. Brian's got a 7 out of 10. Make sure you let us know what you think of Dunkirk in the comments. Hopefully you did not watch this video without watching the movie. Although we didn't really spoil too much of the film.
No.
I'm just going to put that banner on there just in case, because some people do freak out sometimes. I'm Jake Blaine. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Qui-Gon-Jake. Brian, let them know where they can find you online,
You can
man.
find me at TG Scoops on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, make sure you check out apocalypsemovies.com. Specifically for this weekend, these guys are going to be covering San Diego Comic-Con like crazy, videos, articles, etc.
Everything.
Make sure you check out Apocalypse on YouTube as well. All the stuff we got going on here. Share, comment, like, subscribe. We super appreciate it. Give us your thoughts of Dunkirk below. We're always down to talk this film. Thank you, Brian, for joining me. And until next time, see you later.